Hello, everybody, and welcome to Goddess Talks. Here we are at 10:25 at night, which, believe it or not, is in fact past my bedtime. And
mine too.
we are here for a special occasion. We'll get to that in a second. But Raven, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Tell me all about the purple lipstick because I'm loving it.
Listen, before all this craziness with the virus popped off, I went over to the dollar store with my daughter. Girl, it was 75 cents and it's beautiful. Can you guys not see? It's so nice.
I really like it. And I'm very happy to know I'm not the only person who gets their makeup from the dollar store.
What? Girl, I got gold nails. Are you kidding? It's beautiful. Love it.
I had teenage daughters, so I haven't invested in makeup in ever, because whether they live with me or they live in their own homes, when it's time to put makeup on, they go through my purse first.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, see, it's kind of reversed for me because I'm not really the makeup wearer. That's Cheyenne. So when I feel like I think I know what I'm doing, I have to go through her makeup day.
I do that now. My oldest daughter, Taylor, she does a lot of extra things. She has like wigs and stuff that I've never even looked at. And she can do weird things with her eyes. And you know what? A lot of weird things. It would take me much too much YouTube to learn how to do any of that. But absolutely, I digress. So here we are, past our bedtime, but for a good reason. I was like,
I'm excited.
I know I am too. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history. A couple months ago, this very overeager human reached out to me via email. He was so extra.com, y'all. Look, for every one.
We got another one. We got .com over there, and now we got another one. Oh my God.
So for every one email I would send to him, he would send back like 5. And they were all the same, just like an extra word or an emoji.
I love it.
You know how I feel. And so I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's getting on my ever-loving last nerve. But I had just started. Like, we just started the show. And I was begging people to come on. Please, please, please come on the show. So I looked past his crazy. Said, okay, we're going to make this work. Well, the timing didn't work then. And then last night, I had everything ready. And then boom, I had to do something else, which has been my life for like the last couple of weeks. This virus is driving me crazy. Like, it's all about me. It's killing people. That was terrible. And I'm sorry, but moving on. So
can you tell us past her bedtime? This is what happens.
My Adderall wore off.
When she's past her bedtime, you guys. All right. Let's go. Let's do it.
Perfect, because now here we all are at the same place in a time that worked. And I would like to finally introduce to Goddess Talks, Dr. Margaret Rogers Van Coops. It is so nice to have you here. Hello.
Thank you.
So tell us about yourself.
Well, where shall I begin? When I was born psychic, and I don't want to talk too much about my life, but it's available in that book, My Journey into the Oneness. So there it tells you straight away that I've learned to evolve spiritually to be able to talk to any master teacher, ascended master, the archangels, aliens, some alive, some are dead, and bring their wisdom and their understandings of who we are and what we're about, why we're being integrating our species and so on. So I've written a mass of books. I've got about 15 books. Wow. And culminated actually in the Donald Trump book, The Enigma of Society, which I got to be honest, I'm not into politics. And when they came to me and they said they wanted this book, I was like,
Oh,
Put
see,
it
well,
off
that
a
answers my
couple of weeks.
question because I was going to ask why you chose Trump to be your example
I
in that
didn't choose him. I didn't. I
Well,
really
that's
didn't.
awesome. All right.
And so, I sat down and I said, well, I don't usually interfere, but I said to spirit guides, I'm going to write a preface that says I take no responsibility for what you're going to dictate through me, because I'm not taking sides in politics. I stay away
Right.
from it.
Yes.
And so anyway, I sat down when I was ready and I wrote that, and then I began channeling their words. And it was all about the soul structure coding. And I have to explain here, the soul structure coding is what we choose in the spirit world before we come into embodiment. And we will wait for as many as 7 or even more generations to be born before we actually turn up. And what's happening is the string of ancestors are actually paving the way for each one of us to be born and do whatever we're going to do. And so knowing that, I agreed. So here I am typing away, about whatever they're saying. And all of a sudden they say, okay, research. And I'm like, what? Because I never research anything when I'm writing a book. I can write a book in 4 days if I'm left alone for 12 hours a day.
Really?
So, yeah. And so the bottom line was that I had what research? He said his ancestors. And I go, well, where do I look? And he even said to me, go online. So I searched him, and up came, I put his name in an ancestor, and up ancestor. So I got their names, I got their birth dates, and we started at 1700s, right? And there was a little gap here somewhere in the middle of 1700s, 1800s, and they gave me the stories of little bits that were missing that weren't known. So I thought that was interesting. Anyway, I got all that. And then once I got all that, then they started to get me to explain his ancestors, the soul structure coding, the DNA and the RNA, and the psyche right up to his grandchildren, though we didn't say much about them, just that, they're in harmony with whatever's going on, and they'll take whatever and move on. So the book ended up being quite fit. I've got a copy here. I'm going to hold it up. So reason I'm showing it is, see, these are the ancestors. I had to search and find them, and I designed this whole book cover. I designed all my own book. And I wanted that pensive look.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what he's actually doing is like, wow, how did I end up here? And why did I end up here? And what am I supposed to do, kind of thing. Now, in the overview, by the time you get to it, it doesn't say yay or nay. There's no blaming or shaming or saying you should or you couldn't or you ought to or anything like that. It's merely showing how the influence through the ancestors' DNA and then his parents and family RNA and all the people who came into his life as he was a child. It's a well-known fact that his father and his grandfather were manipulating the ways. I won't say any more than that because I'm not judging it. But you can see when you read this book, even I was amazed. It's like, wow, you can see how he was programmed to actually be where he is doing what he's doing. And the bottom line of it is that he's upset the apple cart. That's all he was supposed to do by being the way he is.
Right.
And now it's up to us to find a new apple cart.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you explain what is RNA? Now, I've seen that a lot.
Well, I won't get technical with the words, but RNA is basically your emotional and mental responses to people who are around you, who tell you how to behave, what to do, what not to do, etc. And in the process of you listening and taking that into your brain and then through your brain down into the cellular neuromuscular memory system. So like if your grandma yelled at you, no, don't pick your nose, for example, which is a common one that kids do in the beginning, you suddenly are shocked, like, wow, and what did I do wrong and whatever, and then it's all explained. And then as you understand it, you develop, say, an insecurity that your nose is itching, you better not touch it because everyone will think you're picking your nose, you know. And I actually had a client years ago with that scenario where I told her to share a secret, one that you wouldn't want to share. And she was laughing and joking on the phone for 15 minutes before I finally gave up. I said to her, just because you pick your nose, it doesn't mean you have to give that secret away. And she screeched. And she said, how did you know? I said, well, Spirit Guides told me 10 minutes ago. I was just waiting for you to share it. But you know, that's the kind of thing that we do. We mark our body with the negatives and the positives of our emotional responses from people. Obviously, mother's the first, and then dad or grandpa or granny or whoever else comes in. And within the first 24 hours, the baby is stimulated through the womb. When the water breaks and coming down the birth canal, then their cell structure coding is stimulated, so that by the time they're out, they're already feeling, hearing, sensing, and communicating energy, not words, obviously, but energy with the people who are in that room. And if you happen to have, say, a nurse that's just had an argument with her husband and she's all smiley, but really inside she's hurting, baby knows that. And the baby will take that into their DNA and it will stimulate some part of the DNA to activate within them a fear. Okay. Now another person might come along and they're all gay and happy and wonderful, and that will stimulate them to feel joy. So that's why we've learned now that it's very important when a baby's born to have a room full of joy and pleasure, you know. And in my case, being born in 1942 with bombs going off, you know, I grew up with all sorts of people who were miserable, and all the earthbound spirits were turning up in my bedroom. And of course, when I was very young, I was scared because I thought they looked like monsters, you know, with their bandages on and their blood dripping off them or whatever they felt they needed to be seen like. And but by the time I was 7, and I'd done a lot of things that I've mentioned in my book, My Journey into the Oneness. You know, the bottom line was it made me mature early, and it made me evolve, you know, into the work that I was doing. And I never felt I had a choice. You know, I was nursing at 16. And my father didn't want me to do it. He thought it was a skivvy's job. So he let me go, thinking I'd get fed up with wiping bottoms, that kind of thing, you know. And of course I didn't. And then I went into nursing, and then after that into psychology. So it was all necessary foundation work for me to bring into my consciousness a much better state of being. And I've had as many ups and downs as everyone else. You know, I've been married 3 times and got 4 children and wonder what the hell I'm doing half the time. You know, but I wouldn't change it. I've evolved.
It's who you are. It's why you are the way you are. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I just have to ask, because I'm Southern, and that encompasses a lot of social norms where I'm from. And
love you, Kristy.
I know you do, and I know, and I'm trying. I don't want to say this the wrong way or word anything inappropriately, but what do you say to skeptics who simply don't understand the journey that you've taken, and or don't believe that it's possible?
Well, let me put it this way. Years ago, when we had psychic fairs in England, there was a whole bunch of people that came outside with their posters and everything. And they were all like, this is hokey pokey and whatever, you know. And some of us, collection of the mediums who were there, including me, went outside. And the other ones were all sort of saying, you know, go away, leave us alone, we're not offending you. And I went out and I said, you need to have a lot of love. Let me give you a hug. And then I went up to another one and I said, you know, it's okay. You'll get the money for your bills next week. And it just blew their minds away, because I was giving them messages that they knew was true. Yeah, and they went away.
Will I get money to pay my bills next week? I mean,
you're working on it.
Because if somebody around me says, Raymond, your bills are going to be okay, I'd like somebody to let me know. My bills too, my bills.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I think
know.
that's
We're all in hot water. Yes.
I think that's on everybody's mind right now, and that's kind of why, I said I wasn't going to talk about the coronavirus tonight, but it's really, that's a fear that everybody has right now, is
Mm,
what's my
mm,
life going
Yes.
to be like in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks. We're not planning for the future right now. We're planning for the immediate. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
day by day.
mhm.
Did
Absolutely.
you
Day by day, everything changes.
did you see my video on taking colloidal silver?
I read what you put on there, what we
Yeah.
in the chat. I didn't watch the video, but I also
Mm,
wanted to kind of ask about that, because I do a lot of, I won't say holistic, like I use essential oils, only because
mm,
I have asthma and allergies, and man, eucalyptus clears it up like nothing else. So I'm a big fan. But I started working with a woman whom I love dearly, and she got me this, I'm always going to say it wrong, selenite lamp. It's a big rock that lights up, and it's
yeah.
beautiful, and it's
You
so
said it
pretty.
right.
And my knowledge of this is all zero. Like, it's absolute zero. The first time I saw a deck of tarot cards was when I was walking through her dining room, and I picked it up and looked at it and said, "These are really cool," and put them back down. So, um,
Well,
so I
would you like me to, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but would you
no, go
like me
ahead.
to explain selenite, what it does? It,
Sure.
it'll take the pressure off your brain, because your brain, you're constantly going, and I feel the pressure of your brain box. And selenite will calm you down and make you more placid. Okay.
Okay.
It's a good peacemaker, if you like. It's very fragile though, so don't drop it. Okay.
I don't want to drop it. It's really cool. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's
yeah.
funny that you said that, because I am so extra. I am always, always, always going. But what I want you to
Mm,
do is I want you to hold up that book again, because I want everybody to get a real good look at the cover.
okay. Where do I hold it? Just I
Yep,
don't
start
know.
that's
Oh,
perfect. That's perfect right
that's
there.
perfect.
So the book is Donald Trump, The Enigma of Society, Dr. Margaret Roger Van Coops. And I want you can put it down. We're good.
I'm
So,
not good at promoting my things.
and you know what? It's totally fine. That's what this is all about. I started the Literary Goddess because people need a platform to speak. We started the podcast because people needed more than one platform to speak. You need blogs and videos and podcasts, and you need to be
Mhm.
all over social media. And it's hard. It's hard to be in all those places and write, and promote
Absolutely.
yourself. So I sat down one day and said, what did we need? Well, you know what authors need? Authors need their own tribes. So that's what this is all about, is we're growing our tribe of women and men, John too, like, let me not exclude him. And so that we can do that, because we want to help people grow. So in this environment, it's cool, because even though I know nothing about what you're writing about and what you're putting out there, I don't have to. I want you to be able to be here to give that message, because if I tried to give it, it would be terrible. I would be like, she does this thing and I don't quite understand it, but she does it and it's really cool, y'all. So it works better when you're here.
Well, thank you. One of the books I do, and I'm not pretty, sounds like writing, but I'm picking up you see, so I can't help it. I think you would enjoy The Quantum Entanglement, A Paranormal Point of View. It
Okay.
takes Einstein's theory, because you like to have those kinds of answers as to why we are here and what's the purpose and what we should do or not do. And that book really, I wrote that one in 4 days in Japan. We had snow on the ground, and
Oh,
I
wow,
had,
amazing.
my classes were cancelled. And then, so I had that and a couple of days off. So I just wrote the book. That's what Spirit wanted.
That's
And
incredible.
yeah, well, it was, it's how I work. When I'm focused, a bit scattered right now because of everything that's happened, but
Mhm.
normally I can be pretty focused and get a book done within, even if I have other things going on, I can finish one within 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
It's easy. It's like just being dictated to, and you just sit there typing at 100 miles an hour.
I am doing something wrong.
You can't judge it. You just have to write it and then go back and let someone else edit it. My husband used to do that for me. But you know, it's all about, you know, just sharing who you are, and through that what comes to you. And people are always, there's always going to be someone that's going to go, no, that's not for me, I'm fixed. But the majority of people today, they're awakened.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that book. Oh, that was just another book. Discover Your Baby's Spirit for mothers, because it tells you to even know before you even get pregnant when it's the right time, because you're feeling the energy of the spirit of your baby to be. And then when you do get pregnant, how to communicate with the baby's spirit in your body. And then when you're birthing, how to birth in the right way for their type. And then from there, you know, rearing them the first year, 5 years, and whole life to adulthood. I haven't pushed it. You know, as I said to you, I don't push my books. I talk about them, but I never actually really, I do a quick video and that's it. I don't even remember to go back and share them. So I'm grateful that you're allowing me to actually find a way to talk about them. But that's not me. I'm really about one-on-one with people, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if I'm in front of a large audience. I haven't done that in this country yet, but, you know, of a few hundred, but I've done 1,000 in England, that kind of thing. And, you know, it's different now. People want to be close. They want to hear what you want to say rather than just a general talk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I wait to be invited.
And that's so true about today's society, though. When we talk about promotion and marketing and how has it changed today versus 20 years ago, 40 years ago, you used to be able to take out an ad in the paper, or, you know, 20 years ago, put an ad on television. And that was enough. That was enough to get your message out because everybody followed the same pattern. Well, the internet kicked that to the curb because now there's so many platforms and people gravitate towards different ones. I myself am a Reddit, LinkedIn, Twitter human. I am on those all day, every day. I have to constantly feed my ADD. Otherwise, I'm really cranky. So I just have to have constant input, or I have to be doing something all the time. Now there's people like my daughter who likes the this TikTok, makes me feel so old. And Snapchat, she's very visual. She really likes the dancing and the weird stuff. And you
I
know,
like
so
Snapchat. Don't hate on Snapchat.
but I will say that my niece has gotten me addicted to those little filter things where you press a button and it like puts an alien on your face.
Yes.
So, but
Yes, I love it.
where I'm going with that is you now have to meet your audience where they are. So it's not enough to take out that one ad or put out that one press release. You have to encompass multiple lines to reach a broader audience. You have to be willing to do the video, the audio, the pictures, the ads. You have to be willing to, for lack of a better way to put this, and this is kind of vulgar, but it's how I feel about it. You have to prostitute just a little bit of your soul in so many places just to get that audience, to get to people who need to read it. Because like what I write is not life altering. It's purely for entertainment. But what you're writing could have the difference on whether a person lives or lives well. So you want to make sure that you are presenting the book to where the people who need it can reach it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when you say that, you know, as you said earlier, when I was young, it was pick up a telephone and tell people that you're doing
Right.
something. You know, it's to come through the growth that we've had and use it and work with it has been one of my major lessons throughout my life. The way people are seeing you, the way it's like, I remember you must dress up, and you must have your hair up, and you must behave and talk in a certain way. And I used to speak like the Queen. And then but I'm a mockingbird. So if I'm with some Scots people for a while, I'm, oh no, you're not going to do that. And I can still do it, you know. So when it came to my mediumship channeling, bringing in spirit guides to speak through me. I would be down like this and I'd come up and, talk. And everybody would say to me, oh, it was wonderful. And I'd say, well, I have to listen to it. And I used to record every session. And we used to have a meeting in England every Tuesday in the 70s and 80s. And it was in my living room, actually, which is a big through room. And they would come from all over, and they were so crowded. They were all sitting on the floor, and I was sitting on a buffet at the back end of the room, and going to trance. And all these people would speak. And here I want to tell you a little bit. I'm proud of it, in a way. And one of the people asked the spirit guide, whoever it was speaking, about I have to think of the real word, cannabis. And after it was all done, they got a lot of information. And after it was all done, this guy came up to me and said, I want to thank you for channeling about cannabis. And I looked at him and I said, what's that? and then he said, marijuana. And I said, well, okay, but what's that? and then he said, weed. And then I went, oh, I know that herbal cigarette people are smoking. That's how stupid I was, But because of what he said, I actually listened to that part of that recording, and everything that's happening now with marijuana and hemp is exactly what they said all those years ago, and that it will become a major medicine, but there will be issues until it is found and totally understood. And we're going through that now. We're trying to understand it because, we're coming out of, okay, it's just get high and whatever, and so I'm very curious and interested. I admit it, experimenting with marijuana and hemp myself occasionally when I feel I need it.
Actually, I spent the last year working at an apothecary that sold CBD and hemp products. I have a pretty decent extensive knowledge of hemp. And not only that, but I'm in North Carolina, and we're actively trying to get the federal government and the state government to let the farmers grow hemp freely here. That way we can be in a position that when they change the actual THC marijuana laws, that they'd be in a position to grow it here, because we have so much farmland here that cannot be grown because it was all tobacco fields.
But I want to add something else that I haven't found out yet. The roots of the plant, they're even more medicinal. And once they start learning to really look at the plant, and and another thing we need to understand is that in our DNA, because of our alien processes of being changed in our DNA throughout history, going back for millions of years, the bottom line is we are now learning to do what they've been doing with us, mixing other species with us and so on. We can do this. We've been, the test tube baby, the very first one. I was working with an astrologer in England, and we did a reading on that. And I also channeled the reading on what she would be like. And the 20 years went by, and it was given to the mother. And I'd actually forgotten all about it. And out of the blue, I get a letter from her saying that she found the recording and listened to it recently. And it was very, very accurate.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, so and I wrote back to her and said thank you so much for the information, but I was leaving for America, so I couldn't follow up on it beyond that. But she didn't send me the copy, and I didn't have the copy because it went to the research institute that they were doing at that time.
Right.
But
Can you tell us more about the aliens?
Pardon?
So can you tell us more about the aliens? You said that there were 3 different types?
Yeah, well, okay, we all know about the Greys, and the Greys, just like us, have also been altered in DNA and RNA through their history. So it's like a chain reaction. Everybody goes on to do something else, and one day we'll go and alter things and mix things, and we're already doing it with animals. And insects and plant life and things like that have to be replenished, and we'll find a way to do that as well. So it's not just us humans, the way people think about it. Aliens have been looking at everything, our vegetation and our way of engineering, growth, technology, all these things come through the aliens. And we as individuals dream it at night or sleep it and wake up inspired in the morning. And it's the same with spirit guides. They give us a lot while we're in the twilight zone, as it were. But for me, I was trained in hypnosis from very young. So when I was hypnotized, I knew I was hypnotized, and I knew I was floating out the window. It was happening to me. And yeah, they did put some deep things in my brain that I shouldn't remember, but I was able to always pull back little bits and pieces until I realized one day what they were doing. They were actually testing not only me, but thousands and thousands of people on finding women and men who had the purest thoughts, emotions, mind, soul, body, who would be key to a new generation, a species that were to be put on another planet. And that's why we've got so many women who are saying they've had babies for the first trimester. Where they're wrong is they do not abuse it. Now, what they do, like to find out if you're, in my case, afraid of spiders, they put you in a room which is nothing but white walls, but they covered the entire walls with spiders of various sizes. And I mean, they're screaming because I'm only 7 years old, you know?
Yeah.
And then suddenly the light goes off and there's none in there. There isn't one. And I was able to pull those memories back of the shock of finding they weren't real. They did the same with snakes. And what they're looking for is our fear of level fears and how real they are, and whether they're founded on our experience or they're through imagined and illusion and fantasy. And you know, anyone who's in illusion of fantasy and negativity isn't a good match for a species that's going to be put on another planet. So certain numbers of people who are good enough, and in my case we were taken to the ships to bring out the emotion in their, as they call it, hybrid. I always used to call it crossbreeding because that's what it was in those days. And they would then, you know, have us come and teach them how to use their emotions, because the aliens are so telepathic. Like if I did something good, I would just get swept with, yeah. And that don't need words, you see.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was telepathy. But when we were teaching the children, I was particularly in charge of a small group of about 25, including my daughter. Then I had to go there and be there and sort of teach them how to see the funny side of things. You know, I don't have all the memories of that, no, but I have smidgy bits here and there of my daughter laughing and everyone looking at her like she's actually laughing. Yeah, those precious moments, you know. Yeah, you do. You remember the precious moments. That's very important to know that. Anyway, my update was last year I was out in my garage fiddling around and suddenly I was telepathically communicating with the father of my child. And he told me, congratulations. And I said, what for? And he said, you're a grandmother of 3 children. And I went, oh, you mean my daughter's had 3 children? Yes. So I said, well, wonderful. How's she doing? He said, but you don't understand. They're your eggs. I went, well, I've got great-grandchildren in another dynamic area, I suppose. I don't know what you call them, really. And he laughed. He just laughed, and then he left me, and I didn't hear anything for a while. And then he came back and he said, I've got some new news. I said, what's that? He said, you're going to be rejuvenated. And I've been working on myself for years to get rid of all my negativity. Well, since my husband passed, I've noticed my body's toning up, and they come and they work on me, and I get different psychic things, spirit guides working on me. They're working together, and they are very, very aware of the spirit world, very aware. So when people say they're brutal and so on, they're not physically brutal. It's all in the head. None of it is physically done to you. But if you're a very high physical, and like I am, and you're in a room full of spiders, you feel them biting you. because you believe they're biting you, so they are biting you.
Right.
So you wake up saying, I was bitten all night by snakes, or whatever it is, in a bad dream, but it's not real. It's all the way they're searching your mind. Is that enough information?
No, it's good. It's good. I only ever remember having one nightmare in my entire life. Is that weird?
Well, sometimes the nightmares are really just ours because, let's say I'm going to take a driving test. I could dream that I'm in a boat and I'm drowning in it because I can't control the boat, and it doesn't sound like a driving test, but we just switch it into
Right.
another form of panic and we can see it. And if you get rid of that panic through a dream, then you go off and do your driving test and go, oh, that was easy.
I think, and I remember talking to my sisters about this. I have a lot of sisters, and we have many, many opinions. We grew up in a very unorthodox way, so how we look at life is very different from other people. And one of my cousins had posted on Facebook, they'd had a nightmare for the past couple nights. Stress was getting to them, life was getting to them. And I reached out to my sisters. I'm like, do you all have nightmares? Like, do you have them? And it was just a funny conversation because not really, no, we don't, we just don't. And so we actually had a full on, like, okay, when's the last time you had one? And I was like 6, and I vaguely like remember being scared and waking up scared and telling my dad that zombies were going to get me, but nope, I'm pretty much a happy sleeper.
Well, you're lucky. I'm the opposite. It takes me forever to fall asleep.
Oh, not me.
Especially with the planets where they are right now. They're right over my birth time. So it's like being born again. So it's probably why Spirit's working on me with the aliens. Let me have another 20 years. My dad lived to be 100, so I've got his genes, so I think I'll make it, that far.
Well, that
Anyway, one of the things that I want to say to you, Raven, is like this soul of your being, and I can really push it down. I want to say, let it go over your shoulders, all the issues that are going on around you right now, because the more you think about them, the more you analyze them, the worse you make yourself feel. And if you think about it, your brain is your brain. You're not in my skull. So I think if I had your things going on, I would be saying, okay, let's see what happens, wash it over my shoulder, and put it on the back burner. Your spirit guides really want you to do that because you're getting, you look fine here, but home, you've got a long face sometimes. Let's put it that way. So is that helpful to you? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Said the same thing.
Okay. Sorry, when I get a message, I've got to give it,
No, I really
absolutely.
did. I really did tell her the same thing. She's so hard on herself. If she doesn't have it right now, if she doesn't, it's never going to happen. If she doesn't get it right this second, it's never going to be gotten.
Right.
There's no middle with her. So I bring her into the middle.
I try so hard to have a middle. It's
No.
either all or nothing for me. It really is. I can't. I try that whole middle ground. I stay there for about 30 seconds, and then I'm like,
well, let me give you a little thing to do that they're saying. Okay, what you want, write it down in a little book, and then say, oneness, I'm ready to receive it when it's time. If it's
okay.
not time, show me something else. And they will. You see, if you ask, for example, a friend of mine I had years ago, she wanted this great big dining table. And she insisted she wanted it. And I kept saying to her, you don't need that. Really, don't buy it. I'm telling you, you don't need it. Oh, she said, yes, I do. I want it. So she goes in, puts it on what we called hire purchase in those days, which is credit. And she gets it. And she's full of it. Okay. About 2 weeks later, her husband announced he was leaving her. And she had to get rid of all the furniture. And the one thing she couldn't get rid of was this great big table. And she still had the payments on it. And she had to move into a small house where there was no room.
Oh,
So my point of that story is to say, you know, what you might think you really need could be an eyesore. So
yeah,
if you
that's
don't
true.
get it, just go, it's not meant to be now, maybe later. And I can tell you there are things in my life that I asked for years ago and they're only turning up now. So,
Yeah,
you know, a presence in ourselves that we're aware and that we know what we're going to do with it rather than just grabbing it, saying, well, I've got it, you know, and then what do I do with it afterwards? Oh, it doesn't fit in with what I suspect.
Right, exactly. That happens to me. I'm an impulse shopper. I get all kinds of stuff. But on that note, it is getting late, so I'm going to
yes.
wrap it up. Margaret, thank you so much for being here, and I hope
It
you'll come
was
Thank you
back
for
again.
having me.
wonderful. It
Yes,
was
I
Thank you for
definitely.
having me.
awesome.
Oh, anytime. I want you to come back.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you don't mind, some people are going to go to samariscenter.com. It's on hold right now because my husband died and I can't get in the back of it to change it. So we may even do a new one. Okay.
Okay.
So anyone wants to, you know, find me on Facebook or LinkedIn and friend me that way. Okay.
And I'll put those links on YouTube. All
Thank you.
right. So you guys have a fantastic evening. This was Goddess Talks with Raven Star, Kristy Denise Bach, and Dr. Margaret Roger Van Coops. Have a wonderful night. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you.
you
Bye.
You're
guys.
welcome. Bye.